Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now, your host, Tim Johnson.
The special session of the Louisiana Legislature is underway, and our state faces what is now estimated to be a $900 million shortfall in this fiscal year. Higher education is once again under the gun, and the Louisiana Community and Technical College system faces significant cuts. Dr. Monty Sullivan, president of the Louisiana Community and Technical College system, joins us when we return on this edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Since 1919, we've designed and constructed hundreds of industrial plants, roads, ships, dams, and executed some of the most complex jobs in the world. In fact, our quality and dependability are legendary. Today, the legend continues as Brown & Root delivers engineering, construction, maintenance, and industrial specialty services throughout the U.S. and the world from our headquarters here in Louisiana. We are Brown & Root.
In Baton Rouge, see your Good Neighbor State Farm agent Brady Flavin for your insurance and financial needs.
For over a quarter century, Kelly's has operated with honesty, integrity, and above all, safety. Kelly's features a fleet of quality equipment operated by dedicated, safety-minded employees skilled in land clearing, above-ground right-of-way maintenance, vegetation control, station yard and manned facility maintenance, above-ground pipeline support, and more. Kelly's Industrial Services, where pipeline right-of-way maintenance gets done right.
Consumers and property owners with construction projects can have a successful result or regretful experiences that could have been avoided. Before any construction project, verify licensure of the contractor and check references. Scammers will claim to be insured or bonded, so always check first. Download our app, LA Contractor, from the Android or Apple Store. Visit our website, lacontractor.org, or contact the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. We're here to help before things go wrong. Hire a licensed contractor. It's the law.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Very pleased to welcome Dr. Monty Sullivan. He's the president of the Louisiana Community and Technical College system, and I get to call you my friend. Welcome.
Absolutely. Tim, good to be with you as always.
Glad you're here. A lot to talk about, but before we get started, let's get a general update on the LCTCS, the mission, the status, the enrollment, the budget. Tell us where you are.
Sure, Tim. Your viewers know our institutions well. 13 community and technical colleges across the state of Louisiana. One of the great success stories of our state. If you look back to 1998 with the creation of this system, today we're one of the nation's fastest growing community and technical college systems in terms of enrollment. But what we're more proud of is the fact that we're one of the nation's fastest growing community and technical college systems in terms of our graduates. The raw numbers of students who are graduating from our institutions, going out into the economy and getting good paying jobs and able to contribute and take care of their families.
Good stuff. You guys have put significant emphasis over the last few years on the regional schools, developing closer relationships with the employers in those communities, in those regions. Talk about that work a little bit and how critically important it is for your mission.
You know, those relationships is really where it all begins for us, because if you think about what industry is looking for from our institutions, are graduates with specific skill sets, certainly with the soft skills necessary to show up to work and do the job and work with others well. And so we begin with those industry relationships as a starting point to ask a very simple question: what is it that you're looking for in skill sets? And so those relationships have been critical to us in the past, and they will be critical to us going forward. And we're appreciative of all the great relationships we have from one corner of the state to the other, and that's in every industry you can think of, from the petrochemical industry, construction, across the board, healthcare, a whole host of areas. We continue to make that a focus of our evaluations of our chancellors to ensure that those relationships are strong.
And that's really why the Community and Technical College system was created. It's why it exists exist, your real focus is workforce development, and that's that mission to prepare individuals to participate successfully in the economy.
Absolutely, and you won't hear our institutions focus much on the college itself. Our focus is external. Our focus is on the needs of employers, the needs of communities, trying to answer the call that each of our communities have and our employers have.
You have a significant number of your students in each one of your facilities who might be pursuing a four-year bachelor's degree of some kind, and so they're going to be a transfer student at some point. You've got another significant part of the population that is there to earn a two-year associate degree or an industry-based certification. Talk about that balance a little bit.
What many people don't understand about our institutions is the demographics. The average age student for us is about 26 and a half years old. And when you think of that, yes, we have 18-year-old students that are intent upon transferring to our university partners and earning that baccalaureate degree, probably a third of our population. The other two-thirds are folks that are focused on going to work. Many of our student population is two-thirds female. Another interesting kind of fact, and when you think about the impact that has on families and communities, it's substantial. So that two-thirds population are the groups that are enrolled in nursing programs and welding programs and process technology programs. So really important to communities, important to people.
A couple of years ago, Louisiana Community and Technical College System was pretty successful in convincing the state to support a bond initiative to go out and put some new facilities and build some new campuses. Just right outside of Baton Rouge, the new River Parish Community College is a spectacular facility. You're building a new technical center there as well. Talk a little bit about the development of the facilities around the state.
You know, those facilities are aimed at workforce needs. These are not facilities that are built for student centers. They are not built for recreational purposes.
It's not about the bricks and mortar.
It's not about the bricks and mortar. It's about what goes on within those facilities. And frankly, the other piece that's really important to note about those facilities is that they're developed in conjunction with business and industry. And in every instance, there's a local contribution. We had to make sure that local communities, local businesses were willing to support these industries by writing a check, because it indicates their interest in and their support of the institution. So we're proud of what we've developed in each one of those communities. We are about maybe a third of the way through that implementation of those bonds at this point. We look forward to continuing the growth, because the reality is, even with the downturn in the economy, Louisiana has substantial workforce demand. We have to find a way to answer that call.
I know a little bit about you and your team, and so I know you're always looking for new and innovative programs, new and innovative ways to deliver training, to deliver education. Talk about some of the initiatives that might be going on within the system.
Sure, just a couple. One example is, obviously, you and I had an opportunity to work very closely on the construction trades area. One of the things that we were successful in doing in the community and technical college system is standardizing on an NCCER curriculum that industry said to us was the standard. And so when you get that standard curriculum that everyone buys into, and you're able to begin to deliver those programs in a compressed fashion on weekends and evenings at times when people can take advantage of them. Just one example. Another great example is playing out over in the Lake Charles area that we've been able to parlay across the state of Louisiana. That is taking our process technology program, a program that typically generates graduates in initial earnings at about $65,000 a year. Pretty good earnings. Take people who already hold bachelor's degrees, who may be in career fields that aren't earning that level of income. Those folks can come in and in a 16-week period of time, able to complete a process technology program. That's huge. And when you push that out across all the colleges statewide, you're giving people opportunities they wouldn't have had otherwise.
That accelerated P-Tech program that you talk about, taking those individuals who already have some sort of bachelor's degree and putting them back into the program and letting them get to completion, it really is about competency, right? It's about a competency-based type approach to what you're doing, and that really has begun to transform career and technical education across the country when you focus on the competencies that are needed to do the job.
You're absolutely right, Tim, and we've certainly gotten to a point today, I think, across higher education where we've got to remember that there are lots of documents that matter in this process, and certainly a degree hanging on the wall is important, but I got to tell you, the W-2 is pretty darn important along the way. And so we have to make sure that the skill sets that are documented behind those degrees and credentials are going to generate a revenue stream for those families to be able to sustain themselves.
Got about a minute left, say 30 seconds, so I'll just ask you this briefly. Other than the budget situation that you're facing that we're going to talk about more significantly in the next two segments, what's the biggest challenge facing the system?
Very simple. We have to not allow ourselves to be caught up in this budget discussion, but instead to continue to focus on the workforce challenges of Louisiana. We still still are in a circumstance where our state, our businesses and industry need more skilled workers. We can't lose sight of that.
And it's easy to lose sight when your fiscal house is on fire and the pressure that's being put on you. We're going to come back from the break, and we're really going to focus on the situation as it stands now, where the budget is currently, what are the doomsday estimates that we've seen out there, because it's pretty serious business for the system. We're visiting with Dr. Monty Sullivan. He is the president of the Louisiana Community and Technical College System, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show on Cox 4.
For more than 25 years, the TJC Group has been helping industry communicate and build relationships with communities, elected officials, and governmental agencies. We are the leading firm in the U.S. for the development, management, and facilitation of industry-based community advisory panels.
Whether you're building a new facility or you manage an existing business, let us put our community and governmental relations experience to work for you.
The TJC Group, facilitating solutions for business and industry.
It might be one of the most efficient, most effective methods of communications we've ever used.
Since 1919, we've designed and constructed hundreds of industrial plants, roads, ships, dams, and executed some of the most complex jobs in the world. In fact, our quality and dependability are legendary. Today, the legend continues as Brown & Root delivers engineering, construction, maintenance, and industrial specialty services throughout the U.S. and the world from our headquarters here in Louisiana. We are Brown & Root.
What if I said that the American dream is alive and well, and that it exists for anyone willing to build it? That the power of a nation does not reside in its monuments, but in the hearts and minds of those who built them, and that the country's greatest heroes also wear hard hats. In today's America, it's not enough to dream about the future. You have to build it. Build your future at byf.org.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Our guest is Dr. Monty Sullivan. He's the president of the Louisiana Community and Technical College System. Mentioned in the open that the special legislative session is a couple of days old as we sit here and tape today. The deficit number for this fiscal year has now climbed to around $900 million. We thought maybe 6 months ago it was going to be $400 million or so. Then it jumped to $750, then it was $800 plus, and now it's approaching $900 million, and it seems to be constantly increasing. I know the governor has talked about a doomsday scenario for higher education. It is the proverbial annual punching bag for budget deficits and budget cuts. What's the big picture scenario that's being discussed now for all of higher education, and then we'll kind of narrow that down to the LCTC?
Sure. So in the immediate time frame, there's a $42 million reduction that is aimed at a March 1 time frame. In addition to that, I think everyone is aware at this point that there's a shortfall in the amount available for TOPS. That is an additional $28 million. And so the immediate impact to institutions across Louisiana is about $70 million.
And that's just in the next 5 months?
Actually, that is within the next 5 months, but it is in the very near term of March 1 timeframe.
Gotcha.
So our institutions have to begin to move very quickly. In the longer term, we're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of $200 million. That is without the impact of the TOPS number. So add the TOPS number to that and you're somewhere around $235 million across higher education. To put that into a bit of perspective in community and technical colleges, that's about $40 million in terms of the impact. It is real. It is a number that I think none of us want to have to deal with, but the reality is we're here and we have to deal with it.
Let's talk specifically about what that reduction would mean in the community and technical college system. What are the contingencies? Let's say that worst case scenario happens. We're all hopeful that solutions will be found so that we don't have to look at cuts that are as significant as those that are being proposed. but what is the worst case scenario and what are the contingencies?
So in the immediate time frame, the March 1 time frame, there are 129 positions across our colleges that will be impacted. Certainly services will be impacted for our students. That's a March 1 time frame. As you look out to the broader number that I referenced a few minutes ago, we're talking about roughly 1,200 positions impacted across our colleges. 1,200 positions means there are programs that will not be completed. There are students who will not be able to graduate. There are likely campuses that will not be able to continue in the operations as they have in the past. The reality, though, is this: we are hopeful. We are hopeful that there will be some solutions. But come July 1, our community and technical college system will look different. We will most certainly be more a bit lighter than we have been in the past. We are and have been one of the most efficient operations in state government. We have continued to take the cuts annually. We've centralized services, we've created efficiencies, we've merged colleges. And certainly this is a challenging time for us, but the commitment that we make to business and industry is that we will continue to be the go-to organization for workforce in Louisiana, regardless of what happens with the state budget.
You will make that, and you and your team will make that work. But we've heard a lot of discussion out there, right, about the governor stating that that we might not even be able to complete semesters. You mentioned that there are folks whose programs might be eliminated that will not be able to graduate in the career track that they may have been on. I've seen college football commitments tweeting that they're decommitting because of the instability that has been created and that exists. You talked about 1,200 positions. One of the things that we may not think about is the sort of the unintended consequences or the things that happen behind the scenes. How tough is it on morale on your campuses in terms of your staff when they see these sort of things going on and the uncertainty that it creates?
Look, it is very difficult on morale. In fact, as late as last night, I received a phone call from one of our chancellors indicating that the Dean of Allied Health Programs is taking a job at at a local hospital. The reality is it has an impact as you begin to have these discussions. But one of the things I would challenge us as a state, as a people, you and I share a state, grew up here just as you did. And I love athletics, I love sports as much as anyone. My concern is less about whether there will be a football team in Tiger Stadium this year. My concern is more about whether there will be people who can pay for the tickets. Because oftentimes the folks who are graduating from our institutions are the same people who are going out and making a living who enjoy Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. And so we're all in this together. And I think it's really important for us to remain focused on that.
Well, one of the things that I think may go unnoticed as well is that because of the reduction in the oil prices and the impact that it's had on the oil and gas industry in our state, we've lost 10,000 jobs in that sector in the last 8 to 10, 12 months. That's, I heard Congressman Garrett Graves say, that's about 20% of that workforce. We got a little bit less than 2 minutes left. When you think about 10 to 11,000 additional unemployed people in our state who are looking to go back to work, that's the kind of role that the Louisiana Community and Technical College sort of specializes in, right? Taking these individuals, retraining them, repurposing them, and helping them find work and careers so that they can support their family and participate in the economy.
You're absolutely right. Tim, I'll tell you, the difference between the 1980s and the oil bust of the 80s and today is the fact that our economy is diversified today. When you think about the impact on the Acadiana region in particular, when you drive to the west just less than an hour, you have almost unlimited workforce opportunities. The Lake Charles region continues to grow and boom. When you look down the river, when you drive to the east and begin to look at what's going on up and down the river parishes, we continue to see growth and expansion. Now, is it as great as it was a year ago? Probably not. But the reality is there's still opportunities in Louisiana, and our community and technical colleges are not a source for cutting state funds. Instead, they're a source for driving more people into the economy to participate, make a living for their families, and by the way, pay taxes.
You mentioned 1,200 individuals, and we talked about the impact that has on morale, but that's got to be a significant percentage of your overall workforce, right? I mean, let's talk about that.
It's just over a third of our total workforce, and so if you can imagine, we serve about 110,000 credit students, another 30,000 students in non-credit workforce programs, 30,000 adult students with no high school diploma. When you think about serving 160,000 individuals, we've got just over 3,000 employees. And so here we are now looking at about 1,200 position elimination. That's substantial, but I can tell you that we're going to continue to remain focused on the workforce needs, and we're going to do everything we can to work through these issues at the Capitol.
Let's take a break and let's come back and talk about the path forward. We're visiting with Dr. Monty Sullivan. He's the president of the Louisiana Community and Technical College System, and you're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
For more than 20 years, the TJC Group has been helping companies assess their training needs and to develop programs that improve the effectiveness and productivity of their teams.
Training doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. Let us put our experience and expertise to work for you.
The TJC Group, facilitating solutions for business and industry.
It might be one of the most efficient, most effective methods of communications we've ever used.
In Baton Rouge, see your Good Neighbor State Farm agent Brady Flavin for your insurance and financial needs.
What if I said that whatever good things you build you? And that in this economy, sweat never loses its value? What if I said that there isn't a challenge in the world too great for a craft professional with the right tools? And that the steps that lead from where you are to where you want to be can only be built by you. Build your future at byf.org.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Our guest is Dr. Monty Sullivan. He's president of the Louisiana Community and Technical College System. Monty, there are those who say that higher education can be run more efficiently, that we have too many four-year institutions, that we've got too many duplicative programs. Reassure our viewers that the LCTCS is operating as efficiently and as lean as it can be.
You know, Tim, it really goes back to the relationships that we have with business and industry. We understand what industry has to do in hard times. It's go back to the core. And so what we've done over the last 7 to 8 years in particular, as we've seen cut after cut after cut to higher education, is we have done things like centralized services. Mm-hmm. You know, there was a point in time where we had many, many employees across our system who had sole responsibility for doing one thing at their campus, payroll. Today we have exactly 5 employees who handle that function for us. I can say the same thing in auditing.
Centralized, more efficient,
exactly. Backroom operations so that the colleges can focus on meeting industry needs, because payroll is not a core function of our campuses. Instead, let's make sure that we do that with a group of folks who do that and that only. And so we've been able to centralize those services, saving about $25.7 million each year. That's how we've been able to navigate multiple cuts over a period of time while still continuing the growth trajectory that we've seen. In addition to that, since 2006, we've merged 8 institutions to 4. We were 17 institutions in 2006. Today we're 13. And we've created some efficiencies, but at the same time, we're continuing to serve more and more students. So it is possible to be lighter. It is possible to be more effective in the delivery mechanisms out there. In addition to that, from a programmatic perspective, we've cut hundreds of programs across our community and technical college system. But I have to tell you, while there's cost that has been eliminated as a result of those, it's much less about the balance sheet and much more about alignment with business and industry needs. So at a time when you're cutting hundreds of programs, you're increasing steadily, in fact, faster than anyone else in the nation, the number of graduates. So this past year, 21,912 graduates from our institution. It's the largest number in the history of our colleges. And at the same time, 4 out of 5 of those graduates are graduating in high demand fields. And so that is the picture of efficiency. Also from an efficiency perspective, in 1999, when the system began, it cost the taxpayers of Louisiana about $21,000 for every graduate. Today, that number is just over $4,000 per graduate. I want you to think of this. If we could purchase a graduate to place in our economy for $4,000, we would do it every day of the week. We've got to begin to think of our community and technical colleges in a way that isn't an expenditure, but is rather an investment in our people.
You're preparing individuals to participate successfully in the economy, to pay taxes, to help grow the economy. It's the right thing to do. You mentioned, you know, the fact that you've reduced the cost per graduate, you've centralized services, you've merged colleges, but you still have to operate, right? And you still have to attract top-notch faculty, people who are able to deliver the message and deliver the training and deliver the programs and the education. And so while we want always for our institutions to operate as efficiently as possible, we also know that as we cut, we begin to impact your ability to recruit the best and the brightest.
There's no question. So if you think about that number of programs, our menu of offerings today is much more narrow. We're having to focus our dollar on fewer programs and really focusing very closely on the quality of the faculty, the quality of the curriculum, and the quality of the experience that students have. Because remember, if you go back to 2006, 2007 and compare the price point that students are paying today to 2006, 2007, we had better have a product that is one whole heck of a lot better than it was in 2006, because the price point is different.
Well, and obviously the results indicate that things are continuing to improve even in tougher economic times. I got 3 questions in 2.5 minutes, so we're going to go a little bit rapid fire here. What's the best case scenario for the LCTCS budget in this fiscal year that ends at the end of June and for next fiscal year?
I think our best case scenario, unfortunately, is a $70 million cut to higher education. I'm uncertain at this point as to whether we'll be able to accomplish that going into just some of the discussions that we're hearing at this point. There don't seem to be a lot of solutions out there in the immediate time frame, but we're optimistic nonetheless.
What are you telling legislators and what are they telling you?
What we're telling legislators is we must find a long-term solution to the current budget challenge. We're not weighing in on one side of whether we're talking about new revenue or cuts. The reality is I think we probably will need to see all options on the table and probably some options we haven't even talked about to this point.
Well, if you think about it, and we talk about it on this show often, 400 statutory and constitutional dedications that lock up our ability to fund priorities. It exposes health care, higher education. It's an annual punching bag. We've got to figure out some long-term structural solutions so that we're not constantly finding ourselves in this position of cutting higher education every year more and more and more. It's interesting and it'll be fun to watch as we go forward, maybe a little bit difficult to watch depending on your seat, but that long-term solution obviously is something you're thinking about as well and something you and your team will be weighing in on. Let's spend the last 30 seconds or so talking about your message to the business community. How critically important is it that those who support the Louisiana Community and Technical College system and its mission, how important is it that they be engaged with you at this point?
It's extraordinarily important. And Tim, I have to tell you, these are the relationships that we built over the years. We are the primary provider of your workforce. I'm convinced that business and industry in Louisiana cannot be successful without a skilled, educated workforce. This isn't about whether you can employ someone with a skill set today. It's about the long-term future of the state and our people, and frankly, of the business community.
Well, listen, from my perspective, we've got the right guy in the right seat to manage and lead through this process. Dr. Monty Sullivan, my friend, thanks for joining us today.
Sir.
We're going to be watching closely, and like you say, it's time for the business community to be engaged and be supportive and be involved in this process. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us today. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.